Good afternoon. We're currently waiting for an update from police about two big shootings in Portland last night. You can see it's going to be a virtual news conference. We will bring it to you live once it does begin. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Pat Doris. It was a violent night in Portland with two major shootings taking place across the city. This afternoon, investigators are still putting all the pieces together. The first happened in southwest Portland, where an apartment resident told us one of his neighbors opened fire on police, who then shot back and killed the person. It happened on Broadway Drive near Markham Nature Park just before 6:45 last night. No other details were released about the incident. And yes, we have asked police if the shooter had obvious mental health issues. No word on that. The other violent incident we're expecting to hear about involves 6 people who were shot near Normandale Park in northeast Portland last night. Officers were called to Northeast 55th and Haslow just after 8 o'clock. That's where our Christelle Kumwe joins us now live with the latest. Christelle?
Yes, Pat, and police say it all started with a confrontation between an armed homeowner and protesters, and neighbors here tell us they heard up to 15 gunshots. The shooting happened near Normandale Park. According to flyers on social media, a group of demonstrators had planned to gather at the park to protest the police shooting of a black man in Minneapolis earlier this month. As a crowd of protesters gathered near the park, police say there was a confrontation between an armed homeowner and armed protesters, and then the shooting began.
Last night, it was just basically mayhem up here.
Police were called to the shooting near Northeast 55th Avenue in Haslow Saturday night around 8.
I was in my bedroom right at 8 o'clock. I heard it sounded about to be 8 to 10 consecutive gunshots.
Chelsea Blando lives in nearby apartments.
I came out up front along with pretty much everybody in my complex, and there were it looked like the entire police force of Portland came out.
All kinds of emergency vehicles here. 2 ambulances leaving, and then several more ambulances right here on Haslow, 55th, cop cars, fire engine. Stretchers were being loaded at that time.
One victim, a woman, was found dead when officers arrived on the scene. Portland police say 5 other people were hit by gunfire. 2 men and 3 women were taken to the hospitals for treatment. 2 people were taken into custody.
I did hear yelling when we were standing out here. It sounded like confrontation between cops and, I guess, somebody who was being arrested.
Longtime Portlanders like Joe Dixon say it was only a matter of time before a shooting happened this close to home.
It doesn't really surprise me that we had a shooting in the neighborhood, because there are shootings everywhere around here.
Now, Portland police say they are still putting the pieces together, and this incident is very complicated. And as of right now, they're asking the public, anyone with information, to reach out to Portland police. Pat?
Thank you, Christelle. Well, Mayor Ted Wheeler and Police Chief Chuck Lavelle remain silent about the violence this weekend. District Attorney Mike Schmidt sent out a statement. He says his heart goes out to anyone who lost a loved one due to the violence. As District Attorney, he continues, he remains committed to holding those committing violence accountable. In the meantime, there are still some people who are so angry with police for whatever reason that they will take any opportunity to berate them. That happened in downtown Portland this morning while police were giving an update to members of the press. Several people began screaming and interrupting the officer. There were several expletives-filled accusations laid out against police, Mayor Ted Wheeler, and members of the press and others. At one point, a protester just started yelling the name of a far right-wing author. The officer stepped to the side during the incident, as you can see, and then later tried to leave when it was clear the aggressors would not stop. Several of them blocked the officer's car from going forward. He then backed away and went down a different street. The Lane County Sheriff's Office is investigating a deadly shooting involving 3 victims that happened early last week in their county. It rocked the small community of Deadwood. That's an unincorporated area of the county. It's a community with a population of just 300 people located off Highway 36. That's where police say a 25-year-old allegedly opened fire on the victims after a dispute. For the small community of Deadwood, the incident is shocking.
Still don't know what to say about it. I'm not sure. I don't know the whole truth about what happened yet, and I may never,
The 25-year-old was arrested at his home on Wednesday and is now facing multiple charges, including one count of second-degree murder. Let's check in live now at the news conference where police are updating us on the two big shootings from last night. Here we go.
To begin with, I would like to talk real quick about an incident that happened this last Thursday. Members of the new focused intervention team were out patrolling, and they tried to stop a car that began driving erratically and took off from them. An officer tried to deploy stop sticks, which are meant to flatten tires, on the on-ramp to ID4 at 39th. And as the vehicle went by, someone in the vehicle started shooting at the officer. Fortunately, the officer was not injured, and the vehicle was later apprehended in Washington. So I wanted to thank our partners up in Washington, and also thank the officers that are showing up every day. I think this might be the third time our officers have been shot at in 6 months, and it's a little dangerous for them, but they're still showing up. They still want to make a difference in the community. So that happened last Thursday. Can everyone hear me okay, by the way? Okay. Second incident I want to talk about. So just before 7 p.m. at around 6:45 last night, officers were dispatched to the 900 block of Southwest Broadway Drive. And they were dispatched to a disturbance call. But before they got there, while they were still en route, they were updated by radio that there were shots being fired. So officers showed up, they set up a perimeter, and they began to investigate and address the apartment that they were told a suspect might be in. During the course of this investigation, an officer-involved shooting happened. Officers had previously put in an order to shelter in place, and they were able to lift that after the officer-involved incident. It's tragic for everyone involved, but it's something we're still working through here. So around that same time, across town, so although that incident started at 6:45, it took a while to progress. Officers in North Precinct got a call in the area 55 in Haslow that there had been a shooting. They showed up and found that one female was deceased and 5 others were injured by gunfire. And that was a very chaotic scene, from what I'm being told. There were a lot of people there, but there weren't a lot of people who wanted to talk with police. And detectives believe there are quite a few people who either witnessed the incident or recorded it on video. And so they are asking, please, 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 if you know something, if you saw something, or if you recorded it, please give it to them, because they are trying to put together a very complex puzzle without all the pieces, and they need the community's help. And so, yeah, a lot of people left without talking with police, and that's one way we help solve crime, is with the help of the community. So 3 very intense, very critical incidents, and we're doing our best to address it. The chief is fully aware of all this, and so is the mayor, and we are keeping them informed as things go along. One thing I did not mention was the preliminary investigation of the shooting at 55 and Haslow is that there was a confrontation between an armed neighbor and armed protesters, and that makes it very complicated, very intricate incident that we are still working through. So that is what I have. If you have any questions for me, please ask. Again, I believe I've given you everything I have. I know a number of news agencies are contacting me and saying, hey, neighbors at the officer involved said someone came out and was shooting. I can't confirm that. I don't know. We're at the very beginning stages of the investigation, and there's a lot that goes into it. So I think first is Alex. Do you have a question? And do I need to, let me see.
Yeah, I think I'm unmuted. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, my question is just regarding the Haslow shooting. Has anyone been arrested tied to that incident, either, last night on the scene or during?
All right, that's Lieutenant Nathan Shepard with Portland Police. By the way, that was our question asking about the mental health issue. In my experience, police typically will put out a statement like they did and then basically have no other information that they're going to share. Of course, an officer-involved shooting, they clamp that down very tightly. And also now you have a murder investigation from the Haslow shooting. So basically, police were just saying what we already know. But one of the important parts is if you know anything, they would love to hear from you. All right, moving on. The Oregon legislature is looking at increasing penalties for anyone threatening or harassing election workers. It's in response to that type of behavior that's increasing both here and across the country. Tim Gordon has more.
The words were spelled out in giant letters outside the Jackson County Clerk's office just after the 2020 election, saying vote don't work and next time bullets.
It made you sick to your stomach that here all of these things that have been happening around the country, the threats, the election workers being harassed, all of a sudden now it was right in our faces.
Jackson County Clerk Chris Walker is not the only nonpartisan election official or worker in Oregon to get that sick to your stomach feeling. All the disinformation about voter fraud and stolen elections has taken its toll.
And move to open a public hearing on 4144.
So this week, Oregon joined several other states in addressing the safety issue for election workers. The House Rules Committee held its first hearing on a bill that would protect information about where workers live, and
the measure also establishes that the crime of harassment or aggravated harassment includes harassment against an election worker. It punishes by a maximum of 5 years imprisonment, $125,000 fine, or both.
Oregon Secretary of State Shemia Fagan spoke about the bill she wants passed.
House Bill 4144 is about protecting the people who protect our democracy, who make our democracy work.
But Fagan also heard at least one concern about the severity of the punishment going from misdemeanor to felony.
And then the second question is, why a felony for harassment?
It is early in the work on this bill that is supported by the Oregon Association of County Clerks.
This is a great step in the right direction. I 100% support it.
Which includes Chris Walker, who says,
this is not political for us. As a nonpartisan elections official, we're charged with making sure that your votes are tallied and that we have a successful election each and every election.
And she says that's hard and even dangerous to do when threats and disinformation are flying.
That is the key in all this, is to make sure that we're getting out good fact-based information so that we can dispel the myths and rumors that are being spread out there.
Tim Gordon, KGW News.